Before we start the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. And now, let's go. Story 1. 22.05. This metro fucking sucks. Good fucking lord. I hate the metro. Why did Maddie have to move offices? We had such a good thing going. If I drove, this would all be fine. But fuck, I hate driving more than I hate public transport. Even if I was still allowed to drive, I'd probably pick the metro. Fuck it. Driving after therapy sucks, even more anyway. It's so impossible to focus. Something about the empty roads that makes it easy to wander off. I'm a repeat victim of rumination. This useless mind of mine has a vendetta against staying calm, present, and controlled. No use missing the driver's license I used for, 6 months, anyway. Maddie said I should be writing mood logs years ago. To keep track of it, the rumination, I guess. It was so long ago now, I can't remember the guidelines. I only have my med logs to go off, but those are so fucking different. Did I sleep okay? Does my stomach hurt? Do I feel an overwhelming urge to lie on the metro tracks and let the wheels slowly squish me into a pancake-shaped mound of blood and bones and flesh? God, trust me to start these as a last fucking resort. It's been an hour since I got on the metro, and maybe 20 since I realized this metro line is apparently an internet dead zone. None of my music is saved offline either. I've been listening to the same 10 songs I saved in high school, bought on the App Store like a fucking chump. Ponder replay for times before I cracked. God, I remember why I hate writing logs. 26 is too old for a notes app diary. All right, Metro Log 1. Status: exhausted. Hating public transport. Wishing I was anywhere but here. What I even talk about that I didn't mention in therapy? Oh, my stop is next. I'm connected to the world again. Never been happier to see a paid invoice notification in my life. 25.05 Metro Log 2. Tired, emotionally drained. Hungry. Annoyed. Feels like every time I get onto this metro, I lose internet the second I cross the threshold. Mind the gap. And then bam. Completely disconnected. Alice through the fucking looking glass. Ugh, this metro. I really hate metros. Maddie's new office is so far away, just miles into the country, and this thing is the only transport that goes there. I mean, I'm happy for her, don't get me wrong. Big thing to leave your firm, move up in the world. But getting here is a trek and a half, 2.5 hours of pure, mind-numbing torture. Metros aren't, charmingly old or anything. They're kind of new, kind of not stuck in this early decade of progress, where everything looks like someone's idea of futurism. It's just so blue. Like hospital blue. No 2 or 4 seaters, just blue benches as far as the eye can see. Then there's the painful fluorescent light, the kind that hurts your eyeballs even when they're closed. The whole thing is clinical looking, hospital clean, but it never really feels clean. The kind of feeling where you know other people have been here, sat in this seat, put their grimy hands all over these poles, coughed and sneezed, and I'm not supposed to indulge in those thoughts. I get carried away, writing. Just thinking about it makes me want to scrub my whole body, bathe in hand sanitizer until I'm covered in a thick film of nice gold clean, like a big wet isopropyl scented slug. I think that's from a TV show. I can't search which one. Looking down the rows and rows of carriages makes things worse. I've always had hints of thalassophobia, something about the unknown, the depths, the encounters I might have if I found myself down there. If the metro wasn't empty, I might feel differently, but it is empty and the lights flicker and pulse. And I think, am I the only one on here? And why? These trips always feel longer than they are. I love the idea of liminal spaces back when I wrote more. Sometimes I think I miss it, the writing. How long is this trip again? I swear it's been more than 2.5, but the little information sign says 4 stops still. I could have sworn. I could be wrong. I've always been a person who can get lost in their own house. The self-deprecation, again, Maddie taught me ways to circumvent it, rephrase my thinking psychological garbage. I just can't seem to do it today. Maybe it was a mistake to write this after therapy. I think it's time I sign off. 30.05, someone died on this metro once. It happened way back when it opened, when it first started running. She was my age, young. It was early in the morning. She tried to cross through the middle of the carriage, in one door, out the other, and got stuck in the doors. I heard they dragged her 5 stops before the driver noticed. That's the rumors, anyway. I wonder what she was thinking when she tried to cross through. Was she drunk? Was she tired? Just foolhardy enough to see the gap and think, hey, metros are slow. I could make that. I wonder how long she was conscious after she got stuck. If she screamed as she was dragged across the tracks, if she tried to free herself. I wonder why it took the driver so long to notice. I wonder if he heard. There's a memorial for her along the tracks, in a little junction between roads. It's just some flowers around a tree. One of those lonely, sad-looking plane trees, the kind planted in asphalt or bitumen or whatever earth fuck it is they use on the sidewalk nowadays. If I had any sort of internet, I'd look it up. But that's what it is, a plain tree, some flower wreaths, and little messages etched all up its trunk, too scratchy for me to read from inside the carriage. There used to be a picture of her, just an A4 printout, covered in skips where the ink had been running out. But it's gone now. I'd watch it decay, day by day, weathered down by rain and wind and shitty pedestrians. Eventually it gave up and accepted its fate, just melted into the tree. Went right back to its roots, you could say. Maddie would have laughed at that. 1.06 Metro Log 4. Cold, wet, hating life. It's raining today. Rain on public transport is honestly the worst experience. Not just the getting on and the getting off, but the being on. The way the water hits the windows, rams right into it, trying to find an entrance like it's coming straight for you. Like the thin pane of glass is just an obstacle for now. It leaks its way through the cracks, the gaps of the roof, a maddening kind of dripping. There's small pools near the doors, dirty, sludgy pools, dragging all the germs from the metro floor into its epicenter, toxic little pools of muck. There's always footprints on the linoleum floors. Wet, textured prints speckled with dirt. I've still never seen anyone else on this metro. I'm avoiding the water as much as I can. One of my socks is already wet. My umbrella, a cheap-as-shit thing from Woolies, has a broken spoke that funnels cascades of rainwater directly into my shoe like a cosmic joke of a drainage system. I can feel the water leaking into the soft pads of my shoes, infecting it. Every second my foot stays wet, I consider yanking it off, but the grimy floor scares me more than the wet sock between my toes. I wonder how fast it would take for mold to grow there, to claim my shoe as its own. I have no bleach at home, I think. Buying some would disappoint Maddie. It's a weird thing, wanting to please your therapist. You're not supposed to. It fucks with your sessions, makes you omit things, twist stories so they like you more. They're not meant to like you. They're meant to help you. I know all of this, but I can't help it anyway. It's like my mind says, hey, you need to tell her, and my mouth says, nothing bad this week, actually. Doing perfectly fine. There's a kind of rush when they praise you. It's like I'm chasing that phrase. Have you taken a moment to be proud of yourself for your progress? Even weirder when your therapist has a high school girl name. Yes, I have noticed my anxiety getting worse, Madeline. Gosh, I didn't consider being kind to myself this week, Madeline. No, I didn't skip my dose this morning, Madeline. Oh, strange. I could have sworn they just announced that stop. St. Anthony Station. I'm sure I heard it. I'm sure we stopped there already. Maybe I'm just hearing things again. This trip is so long. I wouldn't be surprised if it drove me crazy. 6.06 Incredible news. Someone else is on the metro today. Mark that one down on the calendar. First time someone else has been trapped in this terrifying hellscape with me. They're real. I checked. There are a few carriages over. Have been since I got on. I can't tell much from a distance, but it looks like they have a heavy raincoat and a dripping umbrella. Yeah, okay, definitely. There's water pooling at their feet. There's no rain today. I checked. My headphones died already today. It's weird. I swear I charged them last night. They normally do, last much longer. I even made a long playlist for these metro rides, all saved locally on my phone. It felt like they lasted ages. Got through 3 hours of my new playlist before they finally perished. Midway through Hotel California. Wait, 3 hours? That can't be right. Metro person is checking their phone. CK. No internet. Loser. You just gotta bide your time till your stop hits. They'll learn like I did. Probably. I did hear that stop get announced again today. 3 times this time, not 2. Mechanical, soothing female voice. Asterisk, next stop, St. Anthony. Next stop, St. Anthony. Next stop, St. Anthony. Asterisk, I went to record it, but something stopped me. Even if it's different from usual, that doesn't mean anything. The little information screen isn't showing any stops, either. It's perpetually frozen on a safety screen. Mind the gap. It could be nothing. It probably is nothing. The Metro might just be older than I thought. Metro person looks confused. Me too, buddy. 9.06 Metro person is here again today. They were here when I got on. They're still wet. It's still not raining. I swear the raincoat is the same as the one the other day. But people only have one raincoat, right? Not like you go shopping and think, oh, I should pick up a new raincoat, one that matches my shoes. Fuck, they're looking at me. I don't know why I ever thought another person would make this trip feel less weird. They're so far away, it just makes these carriages feel like they're even longer. They won't stop staring at me. Are they coming over here? Fuck. Now I'm just typing to make it look like I'm busy. Metro log. Fucking terrified. Hating social interaction. Why she's still looking at me, but she's another carriage over again. God, that was weird. She was completely normal. She smelled like petrichor, but also earthy wet. I'm trying to stop myself from thinking of the mold. She asked me what stop it was. I said, I don't know. She said, I feel like I've been waiting forever. I smiled and wished she'd go away. I realized I couldn't remember if I was going to see Maddie or if I was going home. The Metro voice said, St. Anthony, for the 6th time. I said, I guess we're at St. Anthony. She gave me a weird look and left. Okay, lady. I'm not the one talking to strangers. I took another photo of her, and she showed up in the picture, so I know she's real. I wanted to get off at St. Anthony to avoid the awkwardness, but the doors didn't open. I'm not sure what her stop is. I just know I'm getting off first. 13.06, I saw a bird on the track today. Not in a cute way. In a ruins your day way. Walked out of therapy, up the station, and there it was splayed out on the tracks, almost spatchcocked across the gravel. I felt the revulsion immediately, looked away, but the image of it already wrote itself into my brain. I can't stop thinking about it. There were just so many feathers. Its wings were still outstretched, pressed perfectly flat like a pancake-shaped mound of blood and bone and fucking feathers. Angelic, my brain wants to say. It hurts my heart to think about it. I want to throw up. I've always been sensitive to animals. Just the image of that bird, that poor pigeon, I know it won't leave my brain for weeks. It's going to make a home in there, burrow deep into my psyche, just to pop up one day. When I'm feeling good for once, asterisk hey. Remember that bird you saw? Out on the tracks? Asterisk, there's something about pigeons, too. I think about them a lot. They make me sad. They were our best friends once. They carried our letters, and we loved them, and they loved us. Somewhere along the way, they stopped being useful to us because we're a horrible fucking race, and we only like things that are pretty or useful. We left them alone out there. No way to fend for themselves. We changed their entire genetic makeup, bred the fight right out of them, and then just fucking left them there. Alone. Still loving us. No one to take care of them. I think about being left alone like that a lot. Like those pets, you know? The ones that get left behind in a house when the family moves out. When they get too inconvenient to keep. Those skinny stray cats, returning over and over again to the place they were raised, but the family inside has changed. Those big-eyed, droopy, touch-star dogs, still leashed up, waiting for an owner who'll never come home. I mean, fuck. Metros are so slow, you know? Especially at the stations. It could have flown away. Its wings were right there, splayed out, ready for flight. It could have gotten away. Did it just lie there and wait? Fuck, was it just trying to cross? 15.06, when I first started taking my medication, I kept forgetting whether I'd taken it that day or not. I'd feel bad some days and think maybe I hadn't taken them, but I never wanted to take them a second time. I was scared of overdosing. Starting drugs already fucks with your body. I hated the sickness I always felt, the nausea, and I hated more the idea that double dosing could make it worse. So I got one of those old lady pill cases, the ones with different sections for every day of the week. I know for a fact I took them today. I know it for certain. But I'm sitting here again, and that woman is still here, and she's still soaking wet. I told Maddie today about the Metro. I told her I felt like time was getting away from me, and that I was hearing things and the bone-deep sense of wrongness I've been feeling. It was so hard to describe that terror. It's the kind you get in the throes of generalized anxiety, the nausea, tightness in your chest, every muscle screaming that something is wrong. She seemed concerned, and I felt bad to worry her like that. She asked me if I was taking my meds, and I said, of course I'm fucking sure. She pulled out her copy of the DSM, said, how much of this sounds like you? It fucking sucks. To get told there's more wrong with you than you thought. I have a sheaf of papers dictating how to handle my brain, again, and that woman is still here. She's lying flat on the metro floor. God, my skin is crawling. All the germs coalescing right in that spot where she's lying, clinging to the tips of her outspread fingers. The water is still dripping off her, practically running off her in streams. It's rolling across the floor, to me, stretching its murky arms out. I just don't want to soak into my shoes, my clothes, my hair, my skin. Her hair is spread out around her like dank brown wings. Why hasn't she gotten off? I can't bear the thought of that disgusting water touching me. I'm moving down another carriage. 18.06, my headphones just died again. I was prepared this time. I charged them all night. Didn't use them till I got on this stupid goddamn metro. They have an 8-hour battery life, and the trip is only 2.5. But here I am, in this stupid fucking carriage with a pair of dead fucking headphones. I got through the whole playlist. I checked. 7 hours and 37 minutes worth of music, and I got through the whole thing. That godforsaken screen still says, asterisk mind the gap. Asterisk, there's still streaks of murky water covering the floor, still traveling through the carriages, making its way from end to end like some disgusting kind of varnish. We've driven past that memorial 3 times, that plane tree, the flowers mocking me. I can't stop thinking about it. I should call someone. I know I should call someone. Who would even want to hear from me now? Who do I even speak to, besides fucking Madeline? What am I supposed to do anyway? Call someone just to complain? Make them listen to my problems? I have nothing to offer. I haven't had anything to offer for a while. It keeps coming back to me. That bird flat, the way it didn't get off the tracks. I wonder if it knew what was happening. I wonder if it was conscious. I wonder if it screamed like she did. 21.06, she's still here. I can see her, 2 carriages down, spread eagle on the floor, just staring at the ceiling. The water dripping off her is murky and dark now. God knows how fucking old. She doesn't look up when I get on. I'm thinking about the mold again, about rot. I wonder if all that liquid, all that water, is coming from her from inside. I wonder if she's fusing into the floor of the metro, melting into those ugly linoleum floors. I wonder if she's stuck there, trapped. If she's conscious. The metro is moving, with her along for the ride. I wonder if the driver knows. Maddie asked if I still saw her. I said no. I couldn't bear to disappoint her. I wanted to hear those words again. You made so much progress. I wanted to hear, I'm so proud of you. I could have shown her. The pictures, I mean. But I'm too scared. What if she doesn't see the woman? What if it's all in my head? I can't go through that again. It's the way they look at you when you admit it. They can't hide the sympathy. It all feels so condescending. She asked if I'd consider driving, and I said no. She asked if I was ready for exposure therapy, and I asked to change the subject. I tried to walk further down the carriages today. I didn't want to see her lying in that pool, staring at the ceiling. The sight of her makes my skin itch. My clothes feel heavy with phantom water. But no matter how far I walked, I didn't reach the end of the train. It kept stretching on, and every time I turned around, she was still there, just 2 carriages away. 22.06, I just woke up. I fell asleep, and I woke up, and I panicked because I probably missed my stop, right? But I'm still fucking here. I still have fucking hours to go. I checked the time, and it's moving normally, but there's no way. There's no way it's been only a few minutes. There's no way. There's something else. The doors aren't opening at the stops. Every stop gets announced, and the metro stops, but the doors don't open. No one comes in. No one comes out. How long has it been like this? The whole time? Every time I catch this fucking metro? Have I been so preoccupied with myself that I haven't noticed? Fuck, when was the last time I had therapy? My notes say yesterday, but why am I still here? Why am I still on this train? This goddamn fucking metro? I don't remember getting off. I got up to press the emergency stop, and it's not even a real button. It's glossy and lacquered over. A fake button? Are you kidding me? I can't even look up at it. It's mocking me. I got up to check the other buttons, and they're all the same. They don't push in, they don't make a noise. They're utterly fake. Why do I keep getting on? Why do I keep doing this to myself? Anything is better than this. Hell, getting behind the wheel again is better than this. The woman is still here, lying on the fucking linoleum. I don't know if it's just my eyes, but she looks deflated now. Has she just given up? Or is she really melting into that floor, tried her hardest to sink into the machinery growling under us? I can't look at her without thinking of the bird, the girl stuck in those doors, the kid on the asphalt spread out, blood draining out of her body in crashes and waves. They just wanted to go home. They just wanted to cross. 26.06 Metro log. I'm not on a Metro today. Shocker, right? I dipped into my funds a little to Uber up to Maddie's today. It was a little heartbreaking, what with my salary of $0 a week, but hey, no Metro. I can bear the cost of an Uber just this once. Something in me feels a bit lighter, knowing I'm not getting back on. I spoke to Maddie, and she said I hadn't seen her for weeks, which seems wrong, right? But not the craziest thing for me. I've always been terrible with dates. I guess no more Metro logs after this, right? God, it feels like a weight got lifted off my shoulders. I really just can't bear confronting it anymore, you know? The not knowing of it all. When I was younger, it was something that hounded me all the time. Was I forgetting something? Why did I feel that terror, that bone-deep fear of nothing at all, swelling in my chest the way it did? My mother used to tell me it's fine, nothing's wrong. What could you possibly be worried about? But that was before I got too inconvenient to keep, when I was still young and cute enough to be completely unuseful. The thing about it is, it never goes away. I'm feeling good now, but how long will that last? How long before my shoes fill with water? Until I feel so heavy I can't walk. Maddie told me she thought I should find a new therapist. I didn't ask her why. We both knew what the long trips were doing to me. She told me she thought someone closer to me might be a better choice, and she's right. I could tell there was something she wasn't saying. I never want to find out what it was. I'm not in a dead zone right now, but you'd never guess it. After all, the only notifications I ever get are those damn invoices, and it's not like I'm going to be paying those anymore. The metro station looks different today. It's still white lights, still clean but dirty. Completely empty, not a soul around. The information display doesn't have an arrival time. It just says in cheery words, mind the gap. It doesn't matter anyway. I'm not getting back on a metro. I'm just going to cross. Story 2. The cold metal ground hurt my back to lay on. God, I hate back pain. Wait, why was I sleeping on the ground? In fact, I don't actually know where I am or how I got here. Have I always been here? I have no memories before this exact moment, yet I felt my developed brain's instincts. I felt my consciousness. I felt my fear. I felt my loneliness, even though the sounds of functioning machinery suggested I was surrounded by people. Do they know how I got here? I stood up to see a small, unimpressive room filled with all kinds of equipment. None of the equipment appeared to have a point, yet several people worked mindlessly with no clear goal. The sound was unbearably loud and unendingly obnoxious. It's a wonder how I slept at all with the deafening industrial racket. I took in my surroundings the best I could, but the lighting was dull and there were no windows. It was neither hot nor cold. There were no clocks or ways to track time at all. I found myself at the back of the factory. Dude, a woman with grime, coating her pale skin head to toe, was shifting levers back and forth while dripping sweat. Start working. He's watching. She kept her voice lowered, but she raised a bony finger towards the cameras in the corner of the room. An unconvincing and cartoonish camera swiveled back and forth. I simply looked at the dirty worker, and I continued looking around without acknowledging the warning. I felt her scowl intensify as I walked away from her, but I couldn't find myself to care. As I wandered through the narrow paths, each person looked at me with different expressions, all of which were in different levels of anguish and frustration. It also seemed to be confusing to everyone I passed to see me not working alongside them. Without breaking the monotony of useless work, they watched me walk past them toward what I deemed to be the front of the factory. As I approached the wall opposite of the one I woke up near, I noticed a roped-off section that divided the room. Beyond the rope, a small group of men sat on the only chairs I've seen in the entire building. They looked content and very relaxed. That was until they saw my confused face. Upon seeing me, expressions twisted into anger. A fat little man squinted his eyes and turned a deep crimson as he spit. "What the hell are you doing? Don't you know you're supposed to be working?" "No, not really," I answered honestly. The worker closest to me shot her head up to see who dared to speak back to the clique behind the rope. "This fucking guy." Another ghostly white man groaned. "He's lucky we're not ripping hearts out anymore." Ripping out hearts? As the question escaped my lips, they chuckled at my ignorance. "Yeah, kid, get back to work." Another man hissed. "So you aren't ripping out hearts now? Why should I work?" I asked. "Oh my God, you're still here?" The fat man wailed in rage. "If you don't do as we say, the boss will send you to the basement." Gas from behind me suggested this isn't the first time they've threatened people with the supposed horrors of the basement. It, however, did not impress me. Who's the boss and what happens in the basement? Simply asking the questions seemed to make everyone in the room uncomfortable in different ways. The men behind the rope only got angry. My lack of blind allegiance baffled my peers as much as it did the man. The boss created all of this. Just like what you see here, there's also an upstairs and a downstairs. A voice explained just out of sight. The man speaking was so far behind the rope, he was covered in shadows. Everyone shut up to listen to him, so I concluded he was likely the highest authority in the room. "If you don't work, the boss will send you to the basement to have your legs broken." "Oh wow, what a dick," I responded. No, he's the most loving guy in the entire factory. He made everything you see around you." The shadowy man corrected me. "But you guys are ripping out hearts for him?" I asked. "Well, yeah, but his son used to work here. He let us rip his heart out after a few years so that we never have to do it again," he said, completely serious. "We use this knife, and that's why we all hang a tiny golden knife around all of our necks," he said, pulling the symbol out of his shirt. "Wait, so the boss required you to rip out hearts, then you worked with his son, and he allowed you to rip his out, and now you don't do it? Why the hell did you have to rip out hearts to begin with? And you think he's a cool guy?" "He is love." A demonic growl shook in his throat. "And haven't you met this boss?" I asked. "He works upstairs, and you can only meet him once you're promoted." "So you work for someone who you've never met? Then how do you know the factory worker was his son when you ripped out his heart?" "He was really nice, and he told me how awesome his dad was." The fat man chimed in. "But none of you have been promoted, so how do you even know if he's even up there to begin with?" I kept grilling because nothing made sense to me. The entire factory chose to follow a man they've never seen, and this group of men are acting as an authority for nothing more than a hypothesis. I saw the stairs that led up to a closed door, and I saw a set of stairs leading down to a destination unknown. All I saw was it descending into a dark nothingness. The shadow man pointed to the stairs. All people denying his authority go to the basement. No one has ever gone down there to find out how serious the boss can be. Okay, fine. Let's see the basement. Even louder gasps had the entire factory in shock. The men behind the rope froze. Never before has a person challenged the authenticity of their claims to this extent, for not even they have challenged them. Amongst the shock, smirks slowly replaced their faces. A cocky, cheek-to-cheek grin adorned the shadowy man's face as he approached the rope, yet his eyes remained in darkness. Right this way. Down to the basement, I descended out of sight as laughter harmonized with the sound of my feet on each step. There was a complete absence of light, and it was very cold. After what seemed like ages, I made it to the landing. Without light, I had to feel the walls to make my way down the corridor. It was just a few feet in when I reached a dead end. There was nothing. No people. No equipment. Nothing. My lungs were burning by the time I made it back up the stairs. As the factory came back in sight, no one seemed to notice I had re-entered until I was midway up the stairs leading to the boss's office. Wait, no one is allowed to see the boss. Shadows no longer hid his face. He was nothing but a petrified child. Then break my legs, I said, and I twisted the knob and pushed. The door swung open easily, revealing the serene and peaceful nature of the outside world. Such awe-inspiring beauty and freedom was laying behind the doors the entire time. A world away from a factory that produced nothing, led by people exploiting baseless beliefs, and it was so much more impressive than any boss. It was especially more majestic than a system where the guy who required hearts to be ripped out was threatening to break your legs if you didn't adopt his law. Even with the knowledge they had and the obvious moral corruption of their boss, they still choose to waste their time working for him without investigating his validity. I stepped out of the pit of useless despair and looked down at the men who should know better and the poor people they led to believe they should never question the boss. "Hey, see? You're all wrong and wasting your time." I yelled down to them. Silently, they watched me stand above them, and the useless factory continued to roar. Story 3. I've always loved hunting. There's something about the forest that pulls me in. The damp earth, the creak of ancient trees, the way your own breath sounds too loud when everything else falls silent. My buddies Chris, Luke, and I make a tradition of it every fall. A few days away from work, from town, from people. Just us, the wild, and whatever we're tracking. This year, we chose Deepwood Ridge. None of us had been there before, but Chris swore he'd heard good things. Remote, untouched, full of game. It took hours to get out there, the truck bumping over overgrown trails until we found a spot that felt right. We set up camp in a small clearing just as the sky bruised with twilight. Luke, always the anxious one, kept glancing into the trees while we unpacked. "Feels wrong here," he muttered, almost to himself. I glanced at him, half amused. Luke was always saying stuff like that, seeing shadows where there weren't any. "Relax," Chris said, smacking Luke on the shoulder. "It's just the quiet. You're not used to it." Luke tried to smile, but I could see the tension in his jaw. The quiet did feel different, though. Usually the forest hums, bugs, birds, the rustle of small creatures. Here it was just still, like the trees were listening. We got a fire going, and the flickering light made the clearing feel smaller. Luke kept his back to the trees. Chris and I just laughed it off, but I couldn't shake the crawling sensation between my shoulders, like something was watching us. We ate in near silence, the crackle of the fire too loud. Chris suggested a night hike, see if we could spot any tracks before morning. Luke hesitated, but eventually gave in. We strapped on our headlamps, grabbed rifles, and picked a path through the dense underbrush. The fog came in fast, thicker than I'd ever seen. Our beams barely cut through it, shadows warping and twisting around us. We stayed close, not wanting to split up until we were sure of the area. At some point, Luke fell behind, muttering something about hearing footsteps that didn't match ours. I glanced back to check on him, but he looked normal, just on edge. Then Chris stopped short, raising a hand. We froze, straining to hear. Nothing, just our breathing. Then, snap, off to the right. Chris motioned to move that way, but Luke whispered, "No, we shouldn't." Chris shook his head and kept going. We followed, tension winding tight in my gut. About 100 yards on, I smelled it, coppery thick. We found a deer half buried in the brush, its chest cavity peeled open like split fruit. No scavengers, no insects, just raw, exposed meat, gleaming wet in the lamplight. "Bear," I whispered, though I knew it wasn't. The cuts were too clean. Chris leaned in, inspecting the ribs. Never seen a bear do that. No tracks either. He glanced back, and I caught a flicker of something in his eyes. Uncertainty. Chris didn't get spooked. A rustle behind us made Luke jump. I turned, sweeping the light across the trees. Nothing. Just that dense, breathing quiet. Chris called it, said we should head back. Luke didn't argue. Back at camp, Luke dropped onto his pack, pale and silent. Chris dug through the gear, looking for more batteries. I caught a whiff of something like damp earth and rot. I glanced at Luke, who was staring at me, his face drawn tight. "You good?" I asked. His eyes didn't leave mine. "You wandered off earlier," he said slowly. "No, I didn't. I was right behind you." Luke hesitated. "You moved weird. Didn't answer when I called. Just kept walking ahead." Before I could respond, Chris came back, muttering about the battery pack being lighter than he remembered. I let it go, but Luke didn't stop watching me. That night, sleep came in fits. The fire burned low, shadows stretching long across the tent walls. At some point, I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. I peered out, but nothing moved beyond the dying light. When I glanced back at Luke, he was wide awake, staring at me. Morning came gray and dull. Chris was gone. His gear was still piled near the fire pit, rifle propped against a tree. Luke started panicking, calling out for him, but I just felt numb. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, like the camp wasn't the same place we'd left the night before. We searched the area, circling wider and wider. No tracks, no signs. The forest seemed denser than before, branches reaching lower, fog clinging even in daylight. Hours later, we stumbled on him, or what was left. Chris's body was wedged in the roots of an old tree, face contorted, chest hollowed out. Luke started sobbing, but I just stared. It looked wrong, like the body had been there longer than a few hours, like it had rotted from the inside. A twig snapped. I turned, but the forest was empty. When I looked back at Chris's body, something was off, the position of the head, maybe. I blinked, and the difference was gone. Luke grabbed my arm, pulling me away. We need to leave. Now. Back at camp, the fire was out. Our gear had been tossed around, torn open like animals had rifled through it. Luke blamed me, said I left during the night, messed with the supplies. I didn't argue. I couldn't remember. That night, I heard Luke muttering in his sleep. I caught my name over and over. When I shook him awake, he recoiled, eyes wide and terrified. "You're not you," he whispered. "What the hell does that mean? You keep changing. Your voice, it's not right sometimes. Your face looks wrong." I didn't sleep after that. I just watched him, trying to figure out what he saw when he looked at me. By dawn, he was gone too. No signs, just his boots left by the fire. I'm alone now, or maybe I always was. Sometimes I hear my own voice from the trees, calling back to me. When I look into the mirror, my face seems unfamiliar, like I'm wearing someone else's skin. Continued. The silence in the forest feels denser now, pressing against my skull like a vice. I haven't eaten since yesterday. The food feels wrong in my hands, gritty, unappealing. I force down a few bites, but it sits heavy in my stomach. Luke's boots are still by the fire pit, right where he left them. I stare at them, trying to remember if I heard him leave. I was awake, wasn't I? Watching him sleep. I thought I saw him sit up, eyes vacant, walking out into the dark. I want to call him back, but something stopped me, like my voice didn't belong to me. I spend the morning retracing our steps, trying to find any sign of Chris or Luke. The forest swallows my shouts, returning nothing but echoes. At one point, I swear I see someone through the trees, a figure moving slowly, head bent. I call out, but they don't turn. When I push through the underbrush to catch up, there's no one there. Just clawed footprints in the mud. Some huge, some human. Back at camp, I find my own pack shredded, content scattered. The radio's gone, and my rifle's been snapped in half, like someone or something bent it over their knee. I crouch by the remnants, trying to piece together what happened. My hands shake. I can't remember leaving camp, but the fog in my head is getting thicker, and there's a taste in my mouth, coppery and stale. At dusk, I light what's left of the firewood, but the flames seem smaller, more fragile. Shadows leap and stretch, and I catch myself listening for footsteps that never come. Then I hear it again, my own voice from the tree lean, too flat, too hollow. It's calling my name. I grip the hunting knife tighter, knuckles white. "Who's out there?" I shout, but my voice cracks. The forest absorbs the sound, giving nothing back. I don't sleep, just sit by the fire, eyes darting from tree to tree. At some point, I hear it, soft, scraping like something crawling just out of sight. And then I see him. Chris, standing at the edge of the clearing, half in shadow. His head is cocked to the side, too far like his neck is broken. I swallow hard. Chris. He doesn't move, just stares. I stand slowly, knife trembling in my hand. "What happened to you?" A rasping sound escapes his mouth, like laughter forced through torn vocal cords. "You don't remember?" His voice is wrong, like someone trying to imitate Chris but not quite nailing it. I take a step forward, and he mirrors me, his head slowly straightening until it's upright. His grin is too wide, his teeth bared. "You're the last one left," he whispers. My pulse hammers in my ears. What do you mean? Chris just watches me, and his form flickers like static, like he's almost there but not quite. I blink, and he's gone. Just trees, swaying gently in the night breeze. I sink to the ground, my breathing shallow. I try to piece it together. Chris was dead. We found his body. So what the hell did I just see? And then it hits me, the memories that don't line up. Luke saying I left camp, saying I didn't look right. The way the gear was destroyed while I was asleep. The way the food tastes off. The way my voice echoes back at me, sounding unfamiliar. I pick up the broken mirror from my pack, angling it toward the firelight. My own eyes stare back, but they're too dark, too sunken. My face looks gaunt, like I've been starving for weeks. I touch my cheek, and the skin feels wrong, stiff like something stretched too tightly over bone. Maybe I never made it out of those woods. Maybe the thing hunting us took me first, and whatever's left, whatever I am now, is just a copy, mimicking what it remembers. But then, if I'm not me, why do I still feel afraid? Why do I want to survive? The fire's dying, and I know I can't stay here. I hear movement again, this time circling the camp. I press my back against a tree, knife in hand, try to steady my breathing. Luke's voice drifts from the dark, calling my name. I know it's not him. I know it's just an echo of something that's already gone. The thing wearing my face steps into the firelight, moving slowly, deliberately. It watches me with dark, empty eyes. I don't know if it's real or if I'm the one outside, watching myself fall apart. I whisper into the dark, half hoping someone will answer. If I'm not me, then who am I? The figure grins, and I know it doesn't matter. Whether I'm real or not, whatever's out there isn't done yet. The forest stretches out around me, endless and patient, waiting for me to realize the truth. Maybe I'm a monster now, and the only thing left to hunt is myself. Story 4. I'm just about to be discharged from the hospital. Broken arm, broken clavicle, 19 stitches in my scalp, and all kinds of fun little cuts where they dug glass shards out of me. Also, my Civic is totaled. I've been driving for Uber in the LA area for almost 6 months now. Believe me when I say I've got plenty of stories already. But this one takes the cake, and then some. My cousin is a screenwriter, and he couldn't come up with some shit like this. And not just because all he writes are low-budget Christmas movies about business girls who go back to their hometowns to fall in love with a guy in a pea coat. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what even happened to me. 2 nights ago, I was cruising around in the Culver City area after dropping off a passenger. It was about 1:45 a.m., and I was ready to quit and go home, but another ride popped up over in Palms, which was close. There was no destination entered, which maybe should have been a red flag, but I took it anyway. I started heading over there and almost got T-boned by a string of cop cars that blasted through a red light, going 90 to somewhere. A couple streets over, I crossed paths with an ambulance. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but when I got to my destination, some empty side street in Palms, and rolled down my window, it hit me just how many sirens I could hear. Way more than usual. And choppers too. There's always a few of those fuckers buzzing around, but this seemed extra. I figured there must be some kind of high-speed pursuit, or manhunt, or shooting, or something. I sat there parked at the curb for a while, waiting for this dude to come down from his apartment. The app said his name was Eric, and Eric was taking his sweet time. He lived in one of those old complexes, former military housing that was probably slapped together in the 40s and was now owned by some LA slumlord who charged his tenants $2,500 per month for a little one-bedroom unit. While I was sitting there getting impatient, I saw a few people sprinting across the street about a block ahead of me, lit up orange in the glow of the streetlights. Not going for a jog either. They were running as fast as they could go, like someone was chasing them. And I could hear someone hollering, but I couldn't tell what they were saying. They ran out of sight, and then the street went quiet again except for that distant wail of sirens. And it was about that time when I started feeling really uneasy. Something in the air fell off, and suddenly the hair on my arms was standing up on end. My attention was fully fixed on that eerie, empty street ahead, so Eric scared the holy shit out of me when he yanked open my back door and said, "Are you Wes?" I told him I was, and he piled into the back seat and slammed the door shut. Immediately, I could tell something was wrong. He was huffing and puffing like he'd just been running, covered in sweat, but most importantly, he had a blood-soaked t-shirt balled up against his neck. "Take me to the nearest hospital," he said. Then he reached over and hit the lock button on the door, which was a weird thing to do. I was like, "Dude, you don't look so good." And he goes, "No kidding. That's why I need to get to a hospital." I really didn't want to deal with this, so I said, "Hey man, maybe we better call you an ambulance." "No, I can't afford an ambulance. Just go, okay? Hurry up. I'm bleeding here." The thing was, I don't think he had even looked at me once during this exchange because he was too busy looking back at the dark windows of that looming apartment complex. My heart was starting to beat a little faster, but I went ahead and found the nearest hospital on my Maps app. It was about 7 minutes away, maybe less if we hopped on the 10 freeway for a short stretch, which I intended to do. "Come on, let's go," he said, and I could hear fear in his voice. I hit the gas and took off. I watched him in the mirror as he craned his head all the way around to look out the back window at the big dark brick of his apartment complex falling away behind us. Only when it was fully out of sight did he turn forward. I took a few turns, heading for the nearest freeway on-ramp, and for a while we both stayed silent. I could hear him wheezing in the back seat. Every breath seemed labored. I caught glimpses of his face in the passing lights. His skin looked pale and sweat was beaded up on his forehead. He looked scared and sick. I suddenly wished I'd had another face mask. I usually wore them while driving so passengers didn't give me COVID all the time, especially since I was still struggling after my last infection, but the strap had broken on my mask earlier that day. We had a stoplight. Nobody else was at the intersection, and we sat there waiting for nothing. I considered running it, but then a police chopper banked low overhead, and I thought better of it. "So what happened?" I asked. I caught his glance in the mirror. He looked like he had just remembered I was in the car with him. He spoke with a pained, sluggish intonation, barely moving his jaw to form the words. "Someone attacked me." "Oh shit. Who?" "My neighbor." I woke up because I thought I heard something in my apartment. Got up and found the dude standing in my living room, completely naked. "What? Are you serious?" The light turned green, and I took off again. Eric didn't elaborate for a moment, but then I think he felt my eyes on him in the mirror. He was bleeding too. Honestly, I knew this guy was a bubble off when I moved into the place, but it wasn't a big deal because he kept to himself. But not tonight. No. Tonight he decided to break into my place and flap his weird little peener around in the middle of my living room. "What did you do?" I didn't know what to do. He was talking crazy, jabbering at me. Before I could really do anything, he jumped on me and he bit me. "He bit you?" "Yeah, pretty bad too." Then he ran off. "Jesus Christ." "Yeah." He shook his head like he couldn't believe it himself. The action seemed to hurt his wounded neck, and he grimaced. I dreaded how much blood he was probably getting on my seats. I almost missed my next turn on account of watching him in the mirror. He leaned back in his seat and groaned softly. He really looked bad. I started to get worried that this guy might end up dying in my back seat, so I put on a little more speed. A fire truck strobed through an intersection up ahead and disappeared from view as I brought the car to a brief halt at a stop sign. Something above me caught my eye, and I leaned forward to look. There was an object perched on the long goose neck of the nearest streetlight. It was one of those older streetlights, probably from the 90s, with a sodium vapor bulb that cast an orange disc on the street below. Whatever was on top of it was large, and at first it struck me as a nonsensical mass of cloth balanced impossibly up there, but a split second later, it struck me as the shape of a crouching man. "What the hell?" I said out loud, and I could hear Eric shift in his seat behind me to look out the window. I was already rationalizing that a man crouched on top of a streetlight like a vulture was a completely idiotic notion, and that I must be mistaken when the thing moved, and I could clearly make out the shape of a stooped head and arms, and most alarmingly, eyes. 2 pinpricks of reflected light, like the retinas of a wild animal. I felt the bottom drop out of my stomach. "Go! Go now! Go!" I jumped at the sound of Eric's panicked voice behind me, and without thinking I hit the gas. We shot off down the street, and although I tried to pick out the figure on the streetlight in my mirror, it was immediately obscured by a tangle of jacaranda branches. "What was that?" I asked. Hearing the fearful strain in my own voice made my heart pump even faster. But Eric didn't respond. Instead, he was writhing around on my back seat, moaning softly. I took another turn and spotted a sign for the freeway on-ramp ahead. Eric's movements were becoming spastic. I felt him thump against the backrest of my seat. More pain moaning. Christ, this dude's totally gonna give up the ghost in the back of my car. Hey man, just hang on. We're almost there. Keep pressure on it and, just keep pressure on it. A tortured cry and a scuffling sound from the back seat, then abrupt silence. I glanced in my mirror again to see Eric's shape in silhouette. He was sitting bolt upright now, still as a statue. I was taken aback by the abrupt change in behavior. I could hear him take a deep inhale through his nose, like someone meditating. Then he spoke. Oh, negative. His voice was totally calm now. Calm and low. It sent a chill on my spine. I hit the on-ramp, and we started the short climb to the elevated freeway, putting on speed. I instantly regretted it because I couldn't pull over as easily on the freeway if I needed to. Sorry, what? I said. You're O-negative. Universal donor. What? He was right. I was O-negative, but how in the James Randi fuck could he possibly know that? I lost a lot of blood. I could use some O-negative right about now, he said, and his voice was all thick and croaking like he was some pervert trying to talk me out of my clothes. Dude, you're freaking me out, I said, and then this piece of shit giggled. He actually giggled, like some little schoolgirl who was up to no good. I was starting to panic, and merging onto the freeway was a clumsy blur. Thankfully, there was very little traffic at that hour. I kept looking in the mirror, but I couldn't make out his face, just the shape of his head framed against the rear window. I could see him pull the bloody t-shirt away from his neck, and then he made a strange hissing noise like air through a hose. I've got a hole in my neck, he said in a raspy, matter-of-fact tone. I can breathe right through it. I realized I was drifting out of my lane at about 60 miles per hour, and I numbly corrected course. Before I could think of anything to say, Eric seemed to snap into a completely different mood, or maybe a completely different personality. He doubled over and started whimpering. Oh God, what's happening to me? What's happening? Asterisk. Hey, just try to stay calm. Hang on. We're like 2 minutes away. I said. Oh God, it hurts. It burns. He kept whimpering and moaning, twisting and writhing in shadow behind me, his knees thumping the back of my seat like that awful little kid who has sat behind me on every flight I've ever taken. Suddenly, he sat up straight again with a strange animal huff. Dead silence. I tried to glance over my shoulder, but I had to keep my eyes on the road to navigate a curve in the freeway as it ramped up into an arching overpass. I asked lamely. No response, just the sound of, well, I guess air wheezing through that hole in his throat. I put on speed, quickly passing a couple of slower-moving cars. The exit, it's coming right up, I said, as much to myself as to Eric. Then he spoke again, and not in a way that I liked. I'm going to kill you, but you're not going to die. His voice was grating and filled with a malice that made my skin crawl and my throat tighten. Hey man, just take it easy. There's no problem here, I stammered. I'm going to drink the life right out of you. Oh, negative. My heart hammered in my chest. I willed myself to sit up straighter in my seat, to crimp my face into my best Clint Eastwood scowl. Look, buddy, I don't want to have to do it, but I was taught Brazilian jiu-jitsu by an actual Brazilian, and I can bend you into a pretzel if it comes to it. So let's just stay cool here. And you know what? This ride is officially over. I'm going to pull over now, and you can... I looked up at the mirror again, and my heart stopped. The back seat was empty. I grabbed the mirror and tilted it to make sure I wasn't missing anything, but he was just gone. Was this motherfucker lying on my floor now? And that's when I felt his breath on my cheek, cold like a draft from an open freezer door and reeking of some distant rot that I couldn't place. I froze, my hands stone clubs on the steering wheel as he wheezed softly into my ear for one long, agonizing moment. I started to turn my head, inching my eyes over to look, not minding that my Civic was drifting across lanes. Eric's face was right next to mine, but this was not the same man I had picked up. This was some twisted, nightmarish version of him. This dude's flesh was pale as death. His lips had turned black, and they were peeled back in a grin or a grimace, I don't know which, exposing teeth that looked like they'd somehow all been filed down to these gnarled little points. I didn't get a good assessment of the guy's dental situation when he first got into the car, but I can tell you that he didn't look like this. Like a fucking shark. But the worst part was his eyes. They were murky blood-red pools with no pupil and no iris, and they seemed swollen and bulging in a way that reminded me of that Popeye thing that my fish had not long before it died. Just below his chin, his neck folded strangely with bloodied flesh that was chewed and pockmarked by someone else's teeth. Neither of us moved for another split second. He sucked air in equally through his nose and his throat hole like he was smelling me. Then all hell broke loose. He lunged forward, grabbing at me, clawing at me, snarling and rasping. It felt like getting attacked by a big dog. I don't know shit about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I fought for my life, letting go of the steering wheel so I could wail on this guy with both hands as he tried to bite my throat with those cannibal teeth. An instant later, we had slammed into the concrete barrier on the edge of the freeway, pitched up and sideways, and then we were sailing airborne off the side of the overpass. That fall felt like 100 years. I saw the moon go by the windows, fat and yellow. The car rolled in the air, all my shit went airborne, and I found myself momentarily amazed by how much stuff I actually had in there. It all seemed to happen in slow motion, and I felt like I had time to consider many different aspects of my predicament as we fell. Eric wasn't buckled in, so he hit the roof, then the door, then the other door, then the roof again. Then asphalt that was bathed in that smoky streetlight orange was rushing up to meet us, and that was it. The next thing I remember was waking up in the hospital. The instant I regained consciousness, I thrashed around like I had just landed in boiling water, knocked over in force stand, and kicked a nurse so hard in the can that she yelped and ran across the room. "You're lucky to be alive." That's what they told me, and I couldn't agree more. But what really fucked me up was when the doctors told me that I had been alone in the car when the cops showed up. The paramedics had pulled me out of the wreck, but the way the doctors told it, there hadn't been hide nor hair of a passenger on the scene. Almost immediately, I felt like they didn't believe me. I asked if they found the bloody t-shirt Eric had been holding against his neck, but nobody in the hospital knew anything about that. Later on, a characteristically dismissive cop showed up, mostly to judge me for wrecking my car. He didn't have any additional information, and he stated flatly that they had found me in a wreck that should have killed me, and that if someone had actually been in the car with me, they had miraculously survived as well and apparently fled the scene. Whatever the case, I guess Eric hadn't taken the time to bite the throat out of my unconscious body while I was dangling upside down from my seatbelt. My mother was notified that I was in the hospital, and she jumped on a plane from Texas to come see me. She's supposed to be landing in about an hour. My cousin is my only family member who lives in the area, but he's apparently in Canada right now on the set of Business Girl Goes Back to Her Hometown for Christmas and falls in love with a guy in a Peacoat 6. No matter, all things considered, my injuries are pretty manageable. Of course, there are other issues to contend with now, namely figuring out what the hell just happened. What the hell is currently happening? It's not just this Eric guy who went all demon mode on me in the car. It's everything. All the sirens, the police, the ambulances, the fire trucks, the choppers, the people fleeing across the street, the fucking dude perched on a light pole like a 6-foot owl. As I sit here in my hospital room, there's an electric current of quietly unfolding disaster in the city around me. The hospital staff is bustling, and although nobody wants to give me the time of day about it, I can tell they're being inundated with a rash of new patients. Cops are marching up and down the hallways. I can hear screaming from a room nearby. Not 20 minutes ago, a squadron of military choppers just roared by the window on their way to do God knows what. And sure, you could probably explain that all away, but it really comes down to a feeling in my gut. I've used my phone to search online, and I found some people on social media talking about some weird stuff that's just happened to them. Some of it bears more than a passing resemblance to what I've described here. Talk of ghouls, talk of vampires, talk of some kind of nightmarish supernatural epidemic. Perhaps even more disturbing are the hordes of people who have shown up to tell these folks that they're full of shit. And officially, there's nothing. No articles, no news reports, no government announcements. Not a zilch. It's like the authorities have committed to telling us nothing, and the general public has committed to pretending that everything is fine and normal. But I'll bet my life that something is happening here. Something big, something hellish, and it's going to come boiling out into the open very soon. It's already in the air. I've never felt more sure of anything. If you're in Los Angeles, Tell me with a straight face that you're not feeling this too. That's it for today's creepy Reddit tales. Before we go, I just want to say a quick thanks to all of you for watching, liking, and sticking around. You guys keep this channel going, and I'll be back soon with more stories that'll make your skin crawl. Drop a comment if you've got your own spooky tale to share, and I'll see you in the next one.